Good afternoon from Adswood on this lovely spring day. It's getting towards the end of April now, and as you can see, we've got lots of colour in the long border, mainly forget-me-nots at the front. But for those of you that have watched my videos previously, you may remember that where you can now see the fence, there used to be quite a broad hedge. Unfortunately, towards the end of last year, the hedge became infected. I think it was with honey fungus, and so, having taken advice from many people, I unfortunately had to have the hedge removed. We tried to take out some of the hedge that was most badly damaged, and either side some good hedge to create a fire break, but this didn't work, so I've had it replaced with this fence. Now, in this part of the garden by the long border, it will take a couple of years, but I can cover this fence with climbers, and I've planted some roses and some clematis and a honeysuckle, which is going to provide lots of cover and colour on that fence. But I have a part further down the garden where I wasn't sure how I was going to manage it. So let me show you. This is the area in question behind the pavilion and the potting shed, and so far I've just covered the fence with its stock fencing, this green mesh, and I can fasten it onto the fence in such a way that there's room behind it for any climbers that I want to grow. But until yesterday I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I am now. I've decided to plant two montanas on the fence. They will cover the length of the fence. I know montanas reputedly grow quite tall, but you can stop them doing that by cutting them back in terms of their height each year and encourage them to grow either side rather than vertically. And this is one that I bought yesterday. It's called Tetra Rose. It's not one that I've had before, but Tetra Rose it has a beautiful perfume, and it's going to be growing behind the compost bin, so it's an area really that is not very pretty, but with this growing behind them it will brighten it up considerably and making it a joy working here because of the perfume. Now, montanas and spring flowered clematis like this one don't like to have their crowns, that's the junction between where the stem starts and the roots start, that's the crown of the plant. They don't like that being permanently wet. They do like their roots being able to go and search for moisture within the soil, but if the crown is permanently wet, and it would be if you planted it deeply or if you had a garden that flooded, then the plant would rot, and it certainly, with our wetter winters, is an issue for me that more and more of these plants that come from alpine regions, high up regions that have good drainage, they grow on screed, they don't grow above the snow line, and they don't grow in monsoon areas. These plants will struggle more and more in our winters if we don't help them. And my version of helping them is to plant them in bottomless pots. Let me show you. You can take the bottom out of any pot really. I have large ceramic ones that I've taken the bottom out of, but you need an angle grinder to do that. But I've found that plastic ones, particularly if you're going to put it in an area where it's not really going to be seen, that these are just as good. This is strong plastic. It's an ordinary, well, semi-ornamental, I suppose. It's got holes in the bottom now, and all I'm going to do is to get a jigsaw and go around the holes and take the whole of that centre out, so that when I plant it, I can use this to plant the montana in very good gritty compost and feed it, and the roots will go down into the soil, but the crown will remain relatively dry because of the gritty compost. It'll be very well drained here. I've put 2 pots in situ now. Let me show you. The second Montana that I'm going to plant, and I'll probably plant it down at the bottom there, is Montana Grandiflora. Now, I've grown Grandiflora before, and I know it's capable of covering the front of the house, so it'll have no problem covering this fence and also going into the hedge beyond. So I'll let that dominate the bottom end, and here, and from here upwards, I'll let the Tetra Rose fill this fence and go up behind the pavilion. Here's how I plant them. So here's the compost. It's about 50-50 compost and grit, and to it I've added some bloodfish and bone. I've also put in some rose tree and shrub fertilizer, and I've put some Osmocote, which is a long-term slow release fertilizer. It's probably a bit overkill, but that should ensure that both Montanas get a really good start. Right, it does have a beautiful smell. Tetra Rose, it was bred in Holland. I think it's been around since the early 1960s. It's a variant of Montana Rubens, but I think the flowers are slightly larger than Rubens, but I might be mistaken. In the bottom of this bottomless pot, I've just put some of the subsoil that it's sitting in to make sure that there are no air pockets, so that we're planting directly onto the soil really, and that will be fine. The Clematis will get the best of both worlds, being able to get its roots into the soil here, which is pretty good loam, and also having its crown kept dry, but also being an extremely good compost. Healthy, fertile compost, but very well drained. It's about a 50-50 mix that you would perhaps grow some of your more exotic alpines in. So I'll just put some in the bottom because we want the crown to be at the same level as it is in this pot. I don't want to plant it any deeper than that. The thing with this sort of compost is it's very heavy because of the gravel, and the older I get, the more I struggle with it. Right, we'll try that. Yes, that's about the same. That's about the same depth. That'll be fine. So I'll take it out of the pot. Sometimes easier said than done. That's fine. The crown is just below there. It's because they've put some of this just to protect it in the garden centre. It needs de-weeding a bit. No point in importing weeds. I've got my own. And this has been sitting for about an hour in water before I planted it. I'm just going to rub the sides to tease out the roots without damaging them. Okay. And that will be perfectly happy there. It just needs a little more compost, which I'll go and do. Now I'm not going to disentangle this from the cane right now. It's in flower. I'll leave it, enjoy the flowers. When it's finished flowering, it will start sending out more of these new branches. And once that happens, I will take it off the cane and put the branches spread apart. And I'll try and put them as low as I can without snapping them, and that will create more width and give it some height to grow up. So all I'll do now is just to get a piece of string and tie it round there, and that's job done apart from watering it in. I've got a label. I've taken the garden centre label off because they degrade very quickly. I've got a brother printing machine, and I've just put the name on there. I find these yellow plastic labels last forever. They're very robust, so I have no problem with using plastic in the garden, although when I'm tying plants up I use string or I use paper with wire in them rather than plastic. But that will be fine for now. I probably should have planted the other one first so I don't have to squeeze past this when I'm doing it, but hey, it's all for educational purposes. Right, that's all for today. Montanas, spring flowered clematis, don't prune them before they flower, but cut them back to their required size afterwards if you want to, or just leave them if you've got a big enough space. Feed, water, and let them do their thing. Very easy to grow, and most of them very reliable, and some full of perfume. See you soon.